Hello, everyone. We're so glad to have you here for Midweek Conversations. My name is Pastor Troy, and we have a great, fun, honest conversation that we're going to have tonight. So we want to take a moment to welcome you here. One thing that I would love for you to do, maybe it's a little bit different, maybe your day has been chaotic, maybe it's been a little bit stressful, but what I would really like us to do is to just take 4 or so minutes. We're going to have a worship song play, and I would ask you to take a moment before we get into this conversation that's going to be fun, it's going to be challenging. We're going to talk about faith, we're going to talk about relationships, and we're going to introduce you to some people that I know that you love. But why don't you take a moment, quiet your heart, and just listen to this worship song about how much God loves us. So let's do that together right now. We are so glad to be here. Real people having real conversations. I wish you would do a couple of things for me. Would you take a moment right now to share this video, to invite people in to our conversation as we talk together? I would really love if you would do that. I just wanted to just put this out there that we are sitting closer to 6 feet from each other, but we are a bubble. We're related, and this is the bubble that we've created during this season. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. So we're so glad you're here. We're going to be having a conversation, and what we're going to do first is we're going to give everybody a chance to do something. So they're going to introduce themselves. They're going to tell you what they do at Grace Church and one little known fact about themselves. So they're going to have a moment right into the camera, name, what they do, and one little known fact. You go first.
Hi, my name's Natasha, and I am the youth pastor here at Grace Church and Youthquake. Little known fact about myself. Well, during COVID, I wanted to use my time productively, and so I decided to teach myself how to play the ukulele, and so now I'm a singer-songwriter with the ukulele. I'll sing for you sometime.
So, how many chords do you know?
3.
Well, that's enough.
3.
Most worship songs only have 3 chords.
There you go.
That was for Scott when he watches this. You over here at the end, ma'am.
My name is Penny. I am the administrative pastor / anything pastor. Here at Grace, I do small groups. I do kind of like Natasha kind of calling me the production manager type person on Sunday mornings. I kind of am in charge of just making sure everything flows and comes together, and so that's fun. And whatever else needs to be done, Operation Christmas Child's coming up. I am in charge of that. Get your boxes this week.
Shameless plug.
It's for the children. And a little known fact about me, or unknown fact, is that I can say the alphabet backwards. I can. You don't know that?
Prove it.
Troy's like,
All right. ZYX, WV, UTSRQ, POMNLKJ, IHGF, EDCBA.
whoa.
Yeah, there you have it.
I can say the alphabet frontwards about 50% of the time. You, ma'am.
Okay, so my name is Mariah. I am the children's pastor here. So I take care of the kids. Sometimes I do some light maintenance around the church, stuff like that.
It's funny because it's true.
I do. So one little known fact about me, I am really scared of frogs. They freak me out a lot. So there's this frog that hangs out when it rains by our front door, and I literally am so petrified of them, and I don't even know why. I've never had a bad experience.
Is it the same frog?
I think so.
He's stalking you. All right. My name is Troy. I am the lead pastor at Grace Church. I've been here for 12 years, and I love not only Grace Church, but I love Bucktush. And a little known fact about me is what I do at Grace Church. First of all, what I do at Grace Church is I do a lot of the speaking, but my main gift and talent is I surround myself with amazing people to make me look good, and I be handsome.
We're really
and so
trying our best.
that's what I do. And a little known fact about me is that I am not very handy at all and kind of nerdy. So a little known fact, I'm not that handy, but most people who know me know that. But I'm not scared of frogs, so there's that. So we work together as a team. We work really closely. That's why we formed a bubble together. And as a team, we don't have to all answer this, but a couple people. What is one little known fact about us as a team that people should know about us? Who wants to go first?
I have one.
Okay.
We have known each other for 15 years.
Wow.
I know.
It's a long time.
15 years. That's a lot. We've worked together 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
I have a little known fact. Little known fact that most of you wouldn't know is that Natasha, part-time job here at Grace Church is to distract us from working. And so how she does this is she just goes from office to office chatting about things. And so like she'll come to my office. It got so bad at one point I had to tell her that she could only book a certain amount of time during the week to talk because she was overpowering our time to get work done.
Charming, though.
Very charming,
Very
very charming.
charming.
So Penny, what's a little known fact that we should know?
Well, we actually like to hang out. Like, we actually like each other. We work together, but I will hang out with these fine folks any day.
Is there anyone that you prefer to hang out with less than the others? Let's not talk about that right now. Let's not talk about that. So
She had an answer.
She had an answer. I have a known fact. As a team, we're like starting to get really famous. Like, there's like tens of dozens of people who know us. Tens of dozens.
Tens of dozens. Probably 21, maybe more.
yeah, well, right now 24. That's pretty good.
We're
If
famous.
you know what, if you're watching, we would love for you to drop your name in the comments. And if you have something that you would like us to answer at some week, or you'd like us to do a midweek discussion on, just drop it in there. We're gonna have different guests, and that'll be awesome.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
My question is this. So we are all people of faith. We love Jesus. We all work at the church here together. So what would you say is your biggest struggle with faith? Like, what is something that you find hard? Maybe about being a Christian, about like your walk with God, something that you find, because sometimes people look at us and they say, oh, they're pastors, they don't struggle, or they have everything together, and we don't, I promise. So what's one thing maybe that you find hard or difficult struggling with faith?
All right, who's gonna go first?
Okay, I have an answer. I have a lot. I could respond a lot to this. It's a good question. I know the answer to this because the Bible does provide the bulk of the answer to this is about why people suffer in the world. And we know there's free will, and we can go through and we can quote, maybe some of us can quote the scriptures that will help people understand that. And I can understand it, but I still really struggle with it. I still really struggle with it because you see stuff on Facebook, you read stuff, really good articles, you do research, and you're just like, yeah, I really believe the Bible says the Lord's going to provide, and then you turn on the TV and there's people all over the world really, really struggling. And that's something that I constantly battle with. I constantly read about. I talk to God about it. It's a real thing, and I think it's okay to put the questions to God. So I'm okay with that. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to remember that God can handle our questions, our doubt, and that's such a great question for us. Why do bad things happen to good people, or why is there so much suffering in the world? And that'd be a great topic for us to talk about, but we all struggle with that. Anyone else? Penny.
You're wise, Penny.
Well, this is my struggle with faith / parenting problem is you raise these children, and it's kind of like a pastoral problem too. You raise these individuals with their own thoughts and feelings, and you can direct them towards God, and like, I'm passionate about God and everything he's done and Jesus, and I'm all in. But I can direct people, I can direct my children, but I can't make the choice for them. So it's just a lot of giving that over to God and not trying to let it consume my thoughts, because all I can do is just pray for them and keep guiding and directing them, but I can't make people choose. And so that can be a little hard on the head sometimes.
Right.
I think for me, one struggle may be separating like my faith as like my job as a pastor, but still realizing like that I, as a person, still have to be a disciple, right? I still need to learn. I still need to like, you know, bring people to Jesus and tell people about Jesus, but not because it's my job, right? Because I'm a Christian and that's my faith. So like to not make everything I do in my faith about my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's for me.
It's good. I think for me, I've been a Christian for a long time, been a pastor for a long time. But for me, I think the struggle that a lot of us share together is having faith in something that we can't see. We see God move and we see him work and we believe, but because we can't see him, prayer becomes more difficult at times and all of those types of things. And the reason why we wanted to tackle this question or just answer this question is we want everybody to know that's watching that faith is a struggle at times for all of us. And we can share in the same struggles maybe that you would have. I think my best advice to all of us and all of you, we need to make sure that we know when we understand the Bible, to read the Bible and to see, and understand why bad things happen to good people, and it'll find the answers to our questions, and that becomes part of our life.
I have a question.
Okay.
So we all have a story. Everyone watching, everyone listening has a story. So what is one thing that God has brought you through, one storm, one difficult time that God has brought you through that you want to share?
I can go first.
Okay.
So this is actually something that I've not really shared publicly, but a couple years ago, I was diagnosed with depression. And for me, that was kind of, with Troy's help, something that I had to realize. And I went to the doctor, and I'm on medication for it. And that is something that God has really seen me through, because at the beginning, there was shame, right? There was like, I'm a pastor, I lead people, like, this isn't something I should struggle with. Like, is it because I don't have enough faith? Like, you know what I mean? All those things. But God has really brought me through it, and it's really made it so that I, have more compassion and more understanding for people and, and the stigma surrounding mental health and all that. And so that's something that God has just really been faithful in my life. And it's okay to take medication for things. It's okay, that God has made doctors for a reason, right? And so that's one thing God's really...
It's okay to have Jesus and a therapist too.
Yep.
That's good. Anybody else?
I'll go.
Okay.
I've shared this with a few groups or people from time to time, but there's been a few times throughout my life where I've really struggled with anxiety and fear, and it's really affected me where I couldn't sleep and I had insomnia, and I even had it as a child for a certain period of time where I remember my parents would drive me and just drive around in the dark for however long it took till I fell asleep, and then they'd carry me in and put me to bed because I couldn't sleep any other way. But and then a few years ago too, and I took medication during that time, and it's something I really did a lot of research and biblical study about, because I just couldn't live like that, and so I was willing to do what I needed to do. And anxiety is different than depression, and it can come and go, and sometimes people have it for longer periods of time or shorter. But it pops up from there to there, from time to time, and me and God, we work through it together.
Go ahead.
I could share a few different stories. I think one thing that definitely comes to mind just about really difficult, dark times in life was a number of years ago, Youthquake, one of the students that was a part of Youthquake made the decision, and he ended his life. And without going into detail of all that, I had just moments before had been speaking to him before this happened, and I'll tell you, I remember I remember just stomping my feet. I was so mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at the situation. And I remember saying to God one day, and I was crying probably harder than I had ever cried before. And I remember saying, God, if this is what this is about, like this ministry thing, I'm out. Like I'm out. But God was very present with me, and He sent people to me. And I remember just driving during those times, driving and just talking to God and asking Him questions, and Him, sometimes giving answers, and some answers I still feel I don't have. But that was a time where I don't think I would be here, like in this role in life, had God not seen me through that time, for sure. So I thank God for that. Like He's so present.
Yeah, that's good. I think people will often ask, they'll say, why do you, they ask you questions, maybe me or you, questions about faith. And for me, it's just, I can't imagine, because everybody listening to this today, or if you'll listen to this tomorrow, and everybody here, myself included, we've all been through the dark nights. Everybody has.
Yeah.
Where you've lost someone you love, or where something difficult has happened, or you've struggled with depression or anxiety. And for me, I can't imagine trying to go through a time like that without God. And so I would encourage you today, wherever you are, as hard as life might be, this is a real conversation with real people. And God has really helped us through those really, really hard times. So I would encourage you today, it's not about a church, it's not about a certain church, it's about turning your life to God. You'll hear us when we talk often, we'll refer to the Bible, and we really believe that the Bible is the book, it's not a book. And so what I want to ask everybody here is, what is your favorite story in the Bible? So just give a little bit of a synopsis or review of a story. You didn't know what synopsis meant?
Well, I know, yeah.
Okay.
We did, but maybe not everyone.
Okay, a little bit review of the story.
I didn't know.
A synopsis. And
It's like an overview.
yeah, an overview, yes, thank you, of the story. And tell us why.
Why don't you start first, Troy?
Yeah.
All right. One of my favorite stories, as actually Pastor Mariah had referred to it in the Mighty Kids Live earlier, is about Gideon. And there's a story, Gideon he gets found, he's in a wine press, which we would have different imaginations about that right now, but it was just an indent or a hole in the ground. And he was separating the wheat from the chaff, and how they would do that in those days is they would throw it up in the air, and the wind would blow the chaff away, and then it would get the wheat, and they would beat it on the ground, and the wind would blow the chaff away, and then you'd be left with the wheat. But he was hiding in a hole, and the wind obviously wouldn't blow in the hole that way. And then an angel from God comes and says, I see you, mighty man of valor, or mighty warrior. And that story's always stood out to me because I think it stood out to me because I think that I've been like Gideon a lot in my life, where I've been so afraid of people, so afraid because I've been insecure, that I've found myself hiding. And I think what's interesting about the story is God speaks to him through the angel and says, mighty man of valor. And basically what he did was he saw Gideon for what he could be, not for what he was. And for me, that's why I love the story so much. And if you know the story, Gideon goes on to take an army of a small army and he defeats this huge army. And God says, I see you not for what you are right in this moment, a coward hiding in a wine press, but I see you for what you can be and what I will make you into. And I think that means so much to me because I believe that's what God did with me. He took an insecure kid and said, I can do something with you if you'll let me. And so that's one of my favorite stories. Anyone else?
I can go. My favorite story is the story of Mephibosheth. And so
That's it. That's not easy to say.
Mephibosheth. Essentially, Mephibosheth is the grandson of King Saul, and his dad and his grandfather die in battle, and the person who's taking care of him is like trying to run away and then drops him, and he breaks his legs. And back in the Bible, you didn't have normal hospitals and put it in a cast or whatever, and so it healed funny, and so he ended up being crippled for his life, and he ran away because he was scared that the next king, who was King David, would kill him, because that's what you did, is you usually killed the family of the king before you so that nobody could come and say, I want to be the king. And so David finds him. He goes and gets him, and he says, is there anyone left of the house of Saul to whom I can show God's kindness? And, I'm getting like all goosebumpy. And so Mephibosheth is drawn from this place where he lives, and he's brought to the king's table. And the Bible says that Mephibosheth ate every day at the king's table like one of the king's sons. And so, like, Mephibosheth, who was crippled, who would be an outcast of society, would get to eat every day with the highest of the land, right? And so David took Mephibosheth, and he restored to him everything that was taken from him. And I just love this story because it feels a lot like my life, right? The things that were taken from me, the things that may make me a cripple in some ways, emotionally, whatever, that God has restored those, and that I get to eat at the king's table, right, with the king. And so I really love that story because it's like the story of the underdog. It's got all the elements. But yeah, that's my favorite story, the story of Mephibosheth.
Can you say Mephibosheth 5 times fast?
Mephibosheth, 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 Mephibosheth.
Beautiful.
I practiced that.
Anybody else?
Natasha can go.
Sure. So story in the Old Testament, the second book of the Bible, Exodus. It's one of my top favorite stories. It's two armies, the Israelite army and the Amalekite army, are at war. And Moses is there, and he's with the Israelites. And they were on a mountain, and I think Moab. And they were on a mountain, and God told him to hold his hands up. And so he would hold his hands up, and he'd look down the valley, and these armies are fighting, but he's human, so he's getting tired. And every time his hands would lower, the Israelites would begin to lose. And so God, he asked Aaron, his friend Aaron, and his friend Hur, Hur, to go, and they wanted to help. And so they went over, and they brought Moses a rock so he could sit on. And when Moses sat on it, it was really helpful. But it's actually his arms that are tired. And so they watching him, they began to clue in, he needs different help than this. He needs more help than this. And so they left the rock there. They actually each guy went on either side of him, and they held up Moses' hands, and the Israelites won. And that story rings so true to me personally because, you put a lot of effort. You try to do your best to surround yourself with good people in life. And I actually think it's one of the keys to a successful, good life is to surround yourself with good people who are helpful and who want the best for you. And times when you don't feel like that because maybe someone's being too truthful with you, this story, God's always brought this story back to me. I need to surround myself with Aaron's and Hurs, and sometimes I am Aaron, and sometimes I am Hur, and sometimes I'm Moses. But that story is so powerful for me on a lot of different levels. Over you, Penner.
My favorite Bible story is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which you find in Daniel 3. And King Nebuchadnezzar had made this big gold statue of himself and required everyone in the land to bow down to it whenever the horns sounded, and they wouldn't bow down, and so everyone else was. So people brought them in and said, King, they're not doing what you've asked them to do, so you should punish them. And so the king asked them, is this true? How come you're not doing this? And I want you to do it. And if not, I'm going to throw you in the fiery furnace and kill you all. And they said, we're sorry, King. Sorry to disappoint you. But we believe in our God, and our God's going to come through for us. But even if he doesn't, that we're still going to do what he asks us to do, which is not bow to your statue. And that has been a story I've looked to my whole entire life, because we all have struggles and we all have those crossroads in our lives where we can choose to go one way or we can choose what God's told us to do. And sometimes it's harder to go the route that God's called us to go, but it's the right thing. And even if it's not easy, God's still going to help you and walk you through that. And are you willing to do what God asked you to do when you lose your job, or you could lose your job, or if you get sick, or if your child gets sick, or you have to move? Even if, are you going to serve God if it becomes a hard time? And that is just a great story, and we can all do it. And that they were great examples of how to just stand up and do what's right.
That's good. One last question, and here it is. Just for some fun, to stop the night on an uplifting note. What is the most annoying thing about working with the person to your left?
Can I go first?
Whoa.
I'm going to go first.
Okay. So who's that?
So just one thing?
Yeah, one thing.
And
Okay.
just about Troy.
Just, not everyone to my left.
No.
Just
No.
Troy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, okay. It's been throughout my whole life. Okay? Throughout my whole life.
Speaking of therapy, here
Yes.
we are.
You can always, I'm talking 99.9% of the time win with me. It doesn't matter what sort of, anything it is, you can always win. You always get the better of me. And he and his friends after school, this one friend, Chris Engels, if you're listening, I remember this. After school, they used to get off the bus together, and they used to have a contest to see if they could make me mad and or cry faster than they did the day before.
And the answer was yes, we could.
Troy.
I know.
It was mostly
okay,
Chris.
but now that my childhood all just came back, you said, what's annoying about working with you? It's kind of the same thing. You just still get the better of me every time. But I will say this was one time. He's like, Natasha, you're upstairs. Can you get me a glass of pop? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I brought him down a glass of soy sauce with a little bit of pop to make it fizzy.
What's soy sauce?
Soy sauce.
Soya.
Soya sauce. Soya.
Like soy sauce? Like
Soy sauce,
Like
yeah.
for
Yeah.
Rice.
chicken fried rice?
Yeah.
Nice.
Soy sauce.
Anyway, big gulp. I won that time.
Yeah, that wasn't right. Most annoying thing about working with the person on my left.
That's me.
That's Mariah. Mariah's pretty awesome. So I had to think long and hard about something about annoying with her. But here's the thing with Mariah. She's really really kind and really helpful, and she'll do anything. But let me just tell you something. Do not go in her office and take her scissors or anything.
Tape.
Tape. If you do
Ruler.
that, you will pay. One day we were here, me and her husband, and we needed scissors, and he said, I'm going to get these out of Penny's office because that's the safer play here.
Okay, I feel like I need to defend myself. I don't mind. I really don't mind if people borrow things to my office.
Sure.
I have the best stocked office because I'm the most responsible person on staff.
That's true.
And so I have everything. I don't care
It's color-coded.
if you guys borrow it, but you don't return things.
It's him. That's something else that annoys me about
That's
him.
the difference.
Whoa,
because
one
Penny,
thing.
Penny just told me that she borrowed my scissors. I don't care.
But she washed
She
them. before
washed them and returned them.
She washed.
I was
Okay.
scared.
But you know what but I don't care.
So you go. It's your listen. We're past that now. So you
Anyways.
know anything about the person on the left?
There is nothing.
It's kind of true. No, it's the annoying thing, but it's only annoying because it's true. For me, is that no matter what you ask Penny, she never tries to like conserve your feelings.
Don't ask unless you want the truth.
Yeah, don't ask unless you want the truth. So if I say to Penny, one time I had on these pants, and I still don't really wear them very often because of what you said, but I said, like, Penny, do you like my pants? And she said, they kind of look like pajamas. And I don't really wear them anymore. But I asked. Like, she won't go just tell you that your pants
No,
are ugly.
I won't.
Nope.
But if you ask her, she'll tell you.
You asked.
And so I think it's not annoying.
Brutally honest.
But yeah, sometimes it makes me
I
sad.
don't lie. I can't lie.
Yeah.
I was taught not to lie. Thanks, Mom.
I think that's the annoying
those
thing
hips
about
don't lie.
Penny, is that you just tell the truth and you, if you don't want to know, do not ask
Don't
Penny.
ask.
But if
Penny.
you want to know, I'll tell you.
Oh, she will.
And that's the end of that because Penny has no one on her left. So wrap it up,
Woo!
Troy.
Just loop around.
I think that goes to Natasha.
Yeah.
Wrap it up, Troy. They pick on me a lot.
Well, there's a few things about Natasha, but I'm just going to say one. Which she doesn't hide this, and she will admit to it. She is a little high maintenance, but she knows she is. She's self-aware. But the thing is with that is she likes to be pampered. Doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's at
This
work.
just got real.
It doesn't matter if it's at my house. It doesn't matter if we're in the car. Doesn't matter who you are. She wants you to pamper her.
Like
Right.
how?
Rub my head, tickle my
yeah,
arm.
that's true.
Can you get me this?
That's
Can
true.
you get me that?
Can you
It's
give
a-
me attention?
Yeah, yeah.
It's true.
But she's self-aware. I love people
Yeah.
that are self-aware, and that goes a long way with me. So I appreciate that, Natasha. You're great.
And I'm charming.
You are charming.
Just ask her, she'll tell you. So, we wanted to have a midweek conversation, real conversations with real people. We wanted to do this while we're in the yellow zone, but it looks like we might be leaving in the orange zone, but looks like we might be leaving and going back to the yellow zone, but we're not sure. But we will definitely be back, or I will be, probably not them, but I will be back next week with another midweek conversation. I'll have a guest. We're going to be talking about some really great things. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about parenting. We're going to talk about finances. We're going to talk about things that real people talk about, real conversations. So we're so glad that you're here. I hope today that even the Bible stories that we shared, that you could see yourself in them and know that God loves you wherever you are today.
Youthquake, 8:30, live right here.
Youthquake will be live here at 8:30. Have a great day. May God bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you. May he raise his countenance to you. Will you give you peace? God bless.